Welcome back to the Do Good Work podcast. Today, I'm talking to Paul Mackiewicz. Paul is an Army veteran and experienced digital marketing professional, and he's the CEO of Honorable Marketing. He opened up his agency to provide professional service businesses with a trustworthy and knowledgeable team in their corner who live up to the values he learned in the military. And he is on a mission to use his and his team's God-given talents to help honorable businesses promote how they are positively impacting their local communities online. Paul, welcome to the pod.
Oh man, super happy to be here. Super excited about it.
Dude, we can talk about marketing, we can talk about growth, we can talk about agency life, but I think I'll give you a context. I was on a podcast this morning talking about growing agencies, scaling companies, advertising services, positioning for high profit, and like selling 5-6 figure relationships. That's cool. The host asked me something. The difficulty is like, what's the biggest hurdle people run through? What do you see the number one issue that we have as service providers, entrepreneurs, and founders? In my opinion, it's the doing, the execution, and leading others to do what we need them to do and what they need to do to be successful, because that includes a lot of suck time, meaning there's going to be difficulty, there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be friction, there's going to be, like going to the gym, muscle tearing, difficulty, and some quote unquote pain. I kind of want to talk about that here. I think that you have rich experience in growing, understanding the growth pains, and I want to just open up the door to hear what have been some of the biggest transformations you've made personally and in your business that affected your business, and what was that process like specifically with managing a team, managing yourself, expectations, clients. Like, I'm going to start from the top. Like, what were some of the biggest pivot points in your career?
Yeah, well, we had a really big one very early on. Actually, when we opened up, it was October 2019, and we were working with restaurant groups. So 5 months later, we lost all of our clients. And as a brand new marketing agency, that's not a great way to start. So I really sat down and I thought about what type of impact I want to have. I'm a military veteran. I like to think of myself as very courageous. I try to live as fearless as I can. But I even have a picture of myself from just a few months before I started my company. I was a COO at a different company, and suddenly people weren't getting paid. Suddenly, like, I wasn't getting paid. So like, it was a horrible situation. And we had a wedding coming up, a very expensive wedding, a destination wedding in Miami, like lots of financial burdens in my life, suddenly career burdens coming in. And for the first time ever in my life, and I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky, carefree guy, I had a serious like panic attack. And in that moment, I was talking to God, and I was saying, like, what do I do, man? Like, this company that just threw a whole bunch of money at me a couple of months ago thought I was on this awesome upward trajectory, and suddenly we're not getting paid, and we can't get a hold of the financial backer of the company, and like wheels were falling off. And so in that moment, I kind of had one of two directions I could go. I could either like wallow in that little self-pity for a minute, or I could say, all right, this is some fuel. This is some burn right here. This hurts. This sucks. Dang. And I took a picture of it, a picture of my face. It's the ugliest I've ever looked in my life. I'm a pretty good looking guy generally, but this picture, I'm crying, I'm upset, I'm beat up. Like, and so instead of like hiding from it, I've shown that picture to hundreds of people.
No way, really? So you expose your most vulnerable.
What else are you gonna do with it?
Okay.
Right. I get pissed at a lot of things. Like a lot of things are like pretty jacked up in our country right now.
Yeah.
And it makes me mad. And like, what am I could do one of two things, right? I could just sit there and be angry about it, or I could try and find the positive thing in it. Try and stay optimistic about things. And really, that's how I look at a lot of things. And I feel it's actually a calling of mine to help business owners do the same. A lot of them, when we stopped working with restaurant groups because COVID took that all from us.
Yeah.
I had some experience working with law firms in the past, but I always had a love-hate relationship with it, mostly because a lot of attorneys, let's be honest here, a lot of them are pretty big douchebags. They like started their law firm. Yeah, we can laugh about it. None of my clients are. And I've fired clients in the past that were just not a fit for us. Yeah, they were ambulance chasing douchebags, and they wanted unreasonable expectations around, and we're very good at what we do. Like all of our clients, if I haven't fired them, we have an amazing retention rate because we generate a positive ROI and can display it month over month. But if you're coming into running your business thinking, how can I take advantage of people? You're not a good fit for our company. And a lot of what you're talking about is exactly what we covered during my Monday meeting with my company. Is we were talking about principles, because we have a lot of SOPs, a lot of standard responses that we use with clients so we can systematize as much as we can. But there's always situations that are going to come up. They're going to arise in which you just don't have an SOP for.
Yeah.
And in those situations, the only thing you can really do is fall back onto your principles. And whether that's personal principles or company-wide principles, we had a great little round robin in our meeting, just asking my team, like, what principle do you feel you fall back on when you don't know what to do? And it was great to see my employees. This wasn't something I was dictating from the top, saying like, this is our principle. I was like, guys, you bring it out to me in it. And they were really hitting on a lot of them. And it made me very proud, because being a military veteran, being a guy who I think I'm pretty badass in most of what I do, like I try to be tough and strong and courageous and all this. But the reason we changed the name of our company to Honorable Marketing as opposed to before we were #smart marketing, because I'm a lot of things, but I don't think smart is like a big differentiator with me and a lot of other digital marketers out there. A lot of us, we know what we're doing. We've been in the industry for a long time. We know tactics, we know strategies. But I think what really separates my company from a lot of the other ones out there is the fact that we're honorable, the fact that we do the right thing. You know, if you don't know what to do, you do the right thing. That's one of our principles. Same with even when we're building a website. Anybody that's listening to this that's built a website for a client before knows that the biggest thing that slows it down is waiting on the client to get you feedback, get you
Copy
content,
reviews.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's the worst, right? So my team, we have a rule on our website development side where it's take action, ask for forgiveness later.
Huh.
So I would rather deliver a 90% done website in a couple weeks than deliver a 20% website, because I'm like, still waiting on this, still waiting on that.
Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, the amount of clients that have come back and said, like, I love that you guys just take action. Like, if we need content on something, there's so many amazing tools. There's ChatGPT. I can generate content in 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And then send it over to them and say, like, hey, how does this sound? Do you like the tone of it? Like, but it's not saying, hey, can you write me a page of content about being a personal injury attorney? That's just never gonna push the needle for this guy. And so by really being honorable, being an action taker, seeing every kick in the face as an opportunity to be stronger on the other end, and I think that's some of the biggest keys to our success.
I like how you brought it around towards proactive action. And I think that just going through things personally too, like when you're in that low moment, like walk us through. So you fall back on you mentioned your values, right? So it's setting those values within yourself, but then also with the team and identifying what do they fall back on. How do you manage that? Like it seems to me like you're more intentional with your leadership with your team. How do you manage that within the team when something goes haywire? It could be as simple as we're going over budget for a client scope. It could be as difficult as, hey, we need to pivot an offer because it's failing in the marketplace, or client isn't paying like within last 3 months. Like, how do you manage that with others? Because you seem very self-controlled personally, but I think also the art is how do we navigate that through others and have them successfully navigate these situations?
I think I like looking at all the digital marketing agencies out there and looking at us as the anti this, the anti that. So I work with a lot of law firms and medical professionals.
Okay.
And so often I say we are the anti find law, the anti scorpion. They take a client and they stick them in their box and then put them out on the market. Whereas when a client comes in with us, I think I ask them questions that they've just never been asked before. I help them come up with what truly like what their unique value is, and then even digging in and helping them understand what their unique mechanism is so that we have something that we can market, right? Like there's only so many differences in a personal injury attorney, right? You got to find something special about them and the special way that they do something. Because now I have a client, Ben Drake. He has the Drake difference, when she like lets you know exactly where your case stands every 3 days, and like cool stuff like that you can now market that other law firms aren't doing. We do the same thing. Our onboarding is truly like a masterclass in understanding differentiation.
Huh.
Because not enough marketers do that. They say, what do you do? And they tell the world what you do.
Yeah.
I ask like, what do you do? Why do you do it? What do you do that's different from that guy? What do you do what is it about you personally that makes what you do special? What are
Interesting.
these? So finding the uniqueness, and that's another thing. I'm a Christian. I think God has blessed us with so many amazing things around us. One of the things that I pray about a lot of the times is just like, give me discernment. And I think God constantly reminds me how just awesome human beings are.
Oh yeah.
And then when I look at a client, I don't look at them as like, oh, this guy's gonna pay me $3,000 a month. I look at him like, this is a cool guy who's positively impacting his local community. How can we get more people to recognize that? Even if I have to go to him and say like, hey, do you have charities that you donate to
Huh.
that I could build a
Interesting.
social post around? Finding those cool things around it. But what you're asking is like, how do I get my team to also understand that thing? And I have them literally work like hand in hand with me through the onboarding process. I think there's nothing more important for a marketing company than like the first 60, 90 days
Yeah.
of really getting to know the client, building a campaign that not only is effective, but it's portraying them in a way that they always wished that they could be portrayed online.
Yeah.
A lot of that comes down to helping them eliminate fear. There's a lot of definitely on the medical side, but certainly on the legal side too, where they're like, "Oh, like I don't want to post that on social media." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's you. Like, what are you
Oh
gonna
yeah. It's
do
more
about you?"
mindset coaching than it is the execution sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of it is. I've had a lot of law firms be like, "Oh, why did you post this the other day?" I'm like, because it works, man. Because you have dogs. You love dogs. We posted about some dogs. We got some conversations started around your business and things like that. I'm like, do you have a problem with us posting about dogs? He's like, well, it just isn't legal. I'm like, not everything has to be like, this is what we do every day. People have to like you. People have to relate to you. People have to have something in common with you. A lot of people love dogs. You own 3 dogs. Like, that is a great thing about you. You told me that during the onboarding, and we worked that into your campaign. And again, it wasn't a, hey, can we post about dogs? Because then we never would have been able to post about dogs.
It's not just a random thing. It's more you're tying it back to a business outcome, and you're
Um,
seeing those inflection points, those minor moments that we could overlook, right?
yeah, yeah. And my team getting to watch me do it. Now that we've been doing this for long enough, and my team's been around, they're pretty well established. Some of them, since the day we opened our doors, they get it. Now they've gotten to see me do it. They've seen me refund clients before. And
Hmm.
I'm extremely transparent with my team, being like, hey, team, this is the client. We just did a full refund, so stop all the work for them. The reason we did the refund is because they felt that they didn't have the budget for it anymore. They felt like we weren't hitting the imagery that they were looking for, or
Hmm.
the aesthetic that they look for. Like, I'm completely honest with my team. I don't hide anything from them. Like, really, I don't like using the phrase like we're a big happy family, because I think that's like
I think
fake
that's a
and
dysfunctional face. There's so many people and teams that are out there that, and this is my point of view. I think we can have a counterproductive argument, a healthy one, to anyone that counters this. But anyone who says we are a family is almost to a point where you want them to work extra. You want them to make the business your business, their business. It can become very unhealthy. Essentially, you don't need to be a family to be a winning team. You need to be a winning team to win championships. That's the key, in my opinion. Like,
yeah, and I think a lot of it, I think the family just, it feels fake to me. Like, and if there's anything, I'm pretty genuine in who I am and what I do.
yeah,
And yeah, so anything that kind of gives me that slimy feeling, like I avoid. That's one reason why like I don't have a sales staff. I am the sales staff,
interesting.
because I don't do these slimy like email campaigns or slimy ads. Like, we put out cool content. If people like it, they resonate. Like, we run ads, but our ads are like, here's we call it on our medical side, it's called the prospect to patient protocol. I'm a military guy. I like protocol. I like steps. I like all that. And we give away this 40-page ebook for free. This is what we do. This is how we do it. There you go. If you
You
have
can
any
go do
questions, please
yourself.
let me know. Yeah, you can do it yourself. It, it even has like, here's some cool prompts for Chat GPT to help. I don't think you should be using it for everything, but it is a great, like, kick
There's
around
a
some
lot of cool
ideas.
tools. Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of cool tools to leverage. I want to
Yeah.
ask a few tactical questions and then more again on the higher level side, but a tactical piece. One thing that I'm seeing in the marketplace right now is generosity marketing, focusing on adding value first, building the relationship. One of the key counterpoints I've been seeing or hearing, depending again on per industry, is the email follow up sequence. I'm curious to know how you follow up with clients or how you follow up with prospects. because I'm here. I grew up with continual follow up, touch points, make soft call to actions, hard call to actions, etc. There are some people in the marketplace that say, "Hey, if you send me a follow up email, like an automated follow up, like you've lost the relationship." So I'm
Mhm.
curious to see your take on that being in the game.
Yeah, I think that displaying who you are is really important. I'm a firm believer in generosity marketing. I
Yeah.
think that giving away what you do, letting people see who you are as a human being is important. As far as follow-up emails, I have a few sequences, but generally it's more on like the cold end. It's like, here's how to get to know me. Like,
Hmm.
here's a video, here's a podcast I was on over here. Here's a way to get to know me. When it comes to follow-up email, again, I don't have like a big sales department. So it is usually me trying to provide them with some special piece of value.
Hmm.
So if I do have like some type of canned responses, but more often than not, it's like, hey, you've got 25 reviews on your Google Plus page or your Google business listing, but I see you haven't answered any of them. I see one here. I think you could, it's a great review. I think that you could answer it in a cool way.
So you
That
manually follow up. I see.
about half the time I'd say manually follow up, but I do have some like kind of stock things that I feel reflect me. Like, hey, if I only have to go in there and write like 25 for the amount of reviews that they have and say like 19 not answered and just pick one and then write a quick response to it that I think would generate future business or display their customer service online in a way that a lot of their competitors aren't. That's
Interesting.
worth 30 seconds to me. I also am a big believer in I don't want to work with everybody. Like
Yeah.
I know this about myself. I know that I've worked with enough law firms that I know that there's particular types of lawyers that I don't want to work with. It's also one of the big reasons that I work with so many naturopathic doctors
Hmm.
is like I'm a veteran, so I've gone to the VA healthcare system and I've seen how the general answer for like a veteran saying I'm physically in pain or I'm mentally having some issues is like throw some pills at them as fast as they
Hmm.
can. And I've seen a lot of my fellow soldiers like go through some real tough times because of that. And luckily for me, my wife, we didn't want to have our kid at a hospital. We wanted to do the whole home birth and everything. COVID ruined that. It's a whole nother side story. But I generally avoid hospitals as best I can. But I
Hmm.
will go to a naturopath and explain to them what my diet is, or
Yeah.
I'll go to a chiropractor and or an osteopathic doctor and functionality wise, check out my body and see how things are going. But I think that over medication is a huge issue, especially with military veterans in the VA, but also 66% of the American population is on some sort of pharmaceutical. I think there's a lot of problems with the medical system. And so working with naturopathic doctors, I feel
It's an
personally
alignment
rewarded.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now when you're talking about like writing follow-up email and things like that, when I write something like, I want to help you capitalize on the loss of trust in mainstream healthcare, that's not a salesy bullshit email. I'm 100% serious.
Yeah. You're
I
in
want to
alignment.
help you if I'm sending something to an employment lawyer, I work with a lot of employment law because I'm like, yeah, like screw these corporations. Like that is not benefiting it. If they're fighting against unions and things like that, yeah, let's go get as much money out of them as we can. So finding cool employment lawyers because I believe in what they're doing. Similar with a lot of the personal injury attorneys, the ones that are good, they're fighting against insurance companies, which are somebody gets into a car accident and they're like, all right, we'll give you $80,000 for it. And the people like think that's great. And then they talk to a good personal injury attorney and suddenly they're getting like $1.5 million because they know how to not let these insurance companies take advantage of these people. And so I take a lot of personal pride in choosing who I work with and finding businesses that match what I'm looking to do as far as positively impacting the world. And so I don't have to truly like concern myself all that much with like standard follow-up email because if
Because it's
I
more value add to what you're doing. But if you do scale yourself to like other sales team, they might need some arsenal, right? In alignment to the
so
mission.
here's the crazy idea I have about
I'm open
digital
to it.
marketing.
All right.
What if I just kept all of my clients and I just never lost clients? Then I can add 5 to 10 new clients every single month and keep all the clients I have. I don't have to worry about a churn rate. I don't have to worry about losing revenue at the end. I just have to provide amazing service and keep generating a positive ROI, and clients will never leave me. And that's been our business model. We're strange. We're weird. I don't want to pull in 20 new clients every single month that I can't take care of.
I think
I
that's
know,
key. That's the
yeah,
game.
I know I can onboard 10 of them with a really great experience. and still like scale up my production end. I've got 12 people in my company, all in production. I know I've said it before, but I'm the only sales guy. Like I'm not building out, I don't have this big sales system. I care about my clients succeeding. And because of that, they never leave me. And I get so many referrals from it. So I do some paid ads and some social and some client acquisition strategies. But I kind of get to pick and choose a lot of like the people that I really want to go after. And because there's just not very many like really good marketing companies that kind of like built their company backwards.
Yeah.
I met with a sales company, like a sales enablement company, and I was explaining my business and he's like, "You did this completely ass backwards." And I was like, "Did I?"
I don't think
I don't
so.
know.
I think it's you
Like,
designed it. This is one of the things that I focus on a lot is that why are you doing what you do? Like, why are you actually in the game? And you'll quote unquote lose clients when they sell the business, exit the business, or retire. I mean, there's natural churn. There's natural churn, but that's a positive way to have clients send them off to the sunset. The question though is when you're growing your business and your whatever your scale goal is, like why are you actually doing it? And I think this depends on the personality, the owner or the founder. And I think your personality is very much in alignment to a lot of the things. We're on the podcast, of course, but in alignment to how I operate, the standard, like the whole key around design the business you want, work backwards to achieving that, and you choose your own stressors. And I have some teams that charge significant amount per month, and like their churn might be the healthy. It could be a year, 6 months, could be 18 months, whatever it is. But the whole idea is that's by design. What you're doing here, that's by design. Not having a sales team. You don't need a sales team. That's by design. To be focusing on things that are mission alignment to you, where it's not really work. It's almost like fun to add value and create. That's by design. I think that's the number one thing that we need to focus on building businesses, scaling up, because it's essentially your lifestyle. You're choosing how you want to show up, where you're showing up, and how you're making an impact. So I don't think it's backwards by any stretch of the imagination. I think this is how businesses thrive consistently over time to hit the 10-year mark and then the 30-year mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't build this business to be done in 5 years. I built it to build some lasting impact. And plus the other thing is it's like weird or like hippy dippy spiritually as this will sound. But I think that people are like waking up to what a crock kind of the world has been around us for the last, I don't know, like 40, 50 years of like very greedy society, very Wolf of Wall Street, boiler room, like that's the world that we live in now. And because I work with so many naturopathic doctors, that they are some of the sweetest, nicest people that you ever meet because they started a company to help others like live naturally healthy lives. It's really great. It's inspiring from me because these are like truly like some of the best humans we have out there. What is more important than your health? What is more genuine than doing it in a natural way that isn't some pharmaceutical? Similarly with a lot of my employment lawyers and finding these guys that
you're passionate about it. Like you're in
yeah,
alignment.
yeah. I certainly am. It's tough because like a lot of the attorneys that I work with came up poor, came up in a different country. Some of them came up dragging themselves, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Those are the people that I really like working with. And so I've definitely have some times when like I'm doing some lead gen and I get a message and I look and this guy's like, Yalla. I'm like, yeah, you're probably like, let me read this backstory a little bit more. Yeah, you know what? You're fine. You can go deal with Scorpion or fine. Like, they could go put you in a box and you'll be fine. And I see this dude that, went to like some community colleges first and then had a career and then became a lawyer after it. I'm like, oh, this guy knows
He
the
wants
game.
to make it happen. Yeah,
yeah. And so
not that people from Yale can't, but I see what you're going with.
Yeah.
Like you're going with intention. You're going like, is this the right fit to me? Like almost like a rebel entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Non-traditional.
Like
yeah.
Those people, I want to see them succeed. I want to see small businesses. It's like truly like the lifeblood of our country. And
oh yeah,
whatever I can do to keep pushing that needle and keep what I feel like is re-regulating how things should be. I don't think there should be an Amazon. I think there should be 50 Amazons. I think that we need to get smaller again. And so working with small businesses is like truly like perfect for my mentality because I'm not helping anybody take their law firm from just them to what is it, Celino and Barnes. If you are getting up to like Celino and Barnes aspirations, with your law firm, I'm probably not the right guy. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You should have an in-house marketing team that's doing a lot of stuff for you and really amping it up.
Yeah,
If
there's
you're
different stages, different people for different stages, right?
Yeah, and I think understanding that and like being genuine and authentic with who you are and who you like working with, it changes the sales process for me for sure. Like I don't do these massive cold email campaigns. I do ads that say like, you want to help your community, you want to positively impact your community, I want to help you.
So focusing on the small, that was pretty interesting. We had someone who focused on small business, growing small. Like that's a different mentality. And I think you're right. It's contrarian towards just scale super fast, super high profits, super high revenue as quickly as you can to exit. I think it's again different goals depending on where you're at. I think just to close off, the final question that I had, and this was the question that you teed up so perfectly with this conversation here, is how do you set, and maybe you don't, maybe it is already healthy, but how it seems like you're really close to it. You're really close to the client, you're really close to the outcome. And that can be very healthy in a way where you get results, you drive, you focus, the client can feel the passion, but then also can be unhealthy where you got your own life, your own business, your own family, your own community. Like, how do you set those boundaries and how do you know when you're too close?
That is a great question. I've never really thought about it all that much because I have very broad shoulders. That's how I look at it. I've gone through some shit in my life. I spent a little over a year in Iraq. Like I've had clients yell at me before and then call me like 2 hours later and be like, I'm sorry, man, you handled that right. Because I'm totally fine getting yelled at. Somebody saying, no, I'm not seeing the results that I want. I'm like, I gotcha. We will work harder. We will figure it out. And then I'll change something up a little bit or send them over some new content. Like, but I understand that people are passionate about their business, and that's great. You should be passionate about your business. I also understand that it's my job to get a hidden objective.
Yeah.
It's not my job to be your best buddy. It's not my job to coddle you all that much. It's my job to be honest with you and tell you like, hey, if your website sucks and it's not converting, like your website sucks, it's not converting. We need to do something. Like they don't. But what's cool about that is because I'm so open and out and upfront and authentic with these people that I think that they feel a deeper, genuine connection with me than certainly any other marketing company that I've worked with. But to the point where I get invited to holiday parties. I get invited to birthday parties for a client. I've got a client who's got a 40th birthday party coming up soon that I'm going to. I get Christmas cards. Like, it's nice. It's nice that they see me in that way. And really, the only thing that I'm doing is being genuine and honest and truthful with them. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat something. If something's not working, I tell them it's not working. But also because we're action takers, if something's not working, we catch it pretty quickly and we change. Yeah, we problem solve and we move on. And I think that like caring about your clients is really important. I think that like if my client's not happy about something, I feel it. But I also know I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times that if something's not working, I can figure out why it's not working. We can fix it. We can make it work. And I've also had clients say, hey, this isn't working. And they left me and 3 months later called me up and said like, yeah, these other guys didn't work out. We were going to come back. I'm like, all right, cool. Like I think it's a mentality of, what does Ted Lasso say? Be a goldfish. Like,
there you go. Wisdom from Paul Ted Lasso. I love it.
It's true. I just had a client get upset about something the other day, and then he called me back 2 days later and said, hey, appreciate you taking care of that so quickly. Sorry, I was an ass. And I was like, it's cool, man. Like, don't worry about it. You have a very stressful job. And having that little bit of empathy and that compassion towards them and understand that they're a human too. They've got goals, they're passionate, and not letting that spill over into my life. I also live a really awesome life. It's like, if a client's mad at me, I also have a 16-month-old kid that looks up to me like I'm a superhero. Which am I going to focus on?
You got the perspective. Yeah, no, that's key. I like going back to our initial conversation. What are you focusing on? The gratitude and taking action. No, that's key, man. It's like a cornerstone. It's your fallback.
Yeah. And you aren't what happens to you. You are your reaction to what happens to you. And so I could yell back if I really wanted to. I have before. I had one guy call. He said, which idiot on your team did something? And I was like, let me just tell you, Mr. Attorney, said, I have never had to adjust a website so many times with attorneys coming and going as I have with you. So I don't think we should be talking about teams here, because apparently you got some issues with keeping people over there. my team is working really hard. I'm so sorry we misspelled something on a social media post. There's no reason for you to get that mad. And eventually I let that guy go. That was one of the guys that I had to say, like, you're not a good fit for us. I tried pulling out the good in him for a few months, and he wasn't, and then he went back to Scorpion, which is cool.
You do what you can.
Do what you can. And it's not my job to save people. I'm not. My kid thinks I'm a superhero, but I don't have to be a superhero to them. I can save people, but it's not my job to save people. It's my job to help them save themselves.
That's an interesting perspective. I've had a lot of friends in the military podcasts in different branches, and that it always comes back to that: put your face mask on first, or like your oxygen mask on first, and then you can help other people, but you're empowering them. Pretty interesting, man. I think I think what you said was pretty key earlier around you focus on what you can do, not what happens to you. That's what you are, and being able to fall back on drawing out the good. I think those are simple principles, but I think in the midst of difficulty, the midst of business, the midst of intentionally being small, but not in a connotative way, in a more impactful way, it can help us navigate as we not only grow ourselves, but our teams, our businesses, our community. Well, Paul, for our listeners out there, what's the best place for people to, one, thank you for being on, and two, learn a little bit more about what you're up to?
Yeah, I'm fairly active on Instagram. It's Honorable Entrepreneur is my Instagram handle. And then you can always check out our website, honorable.marketing. So just honorable.marketing. Obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. You can just Google me. Good luck spelling my last name. But if you want a fairly quick response to me, Instagram's your way.
Okay. We'll put those links in the show notes. Paul, thanks for being on, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Raul. It was a great time.
If you found value in today's podcast, please consider sharing this with someone that you believe could also benefit from this episode. You never know, you may be the catalyst that opens them up to a new way of operating their business and experiencing life. As always, it's an honor to be a small part of your journey. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.